A few years ago, I thought I was doing everything right. Every morning, I'd lace up my shoes and take my usual walk, convinced it was enough to keep me strong. But then, something changed. My knees ached more than usual, my back stiffened, and no matter how much I moved, I felt weaker. That scared me. Then I ran into an old friend, David. A few years older, yet he moved with the energy of someone half his age. I had to ask, "What's your secret?" He just smiled and said, "You're focusing on the wrong thing." That moment flipped everything I believed about aging, and when I applied what he taught me, everything changed. Today, I'll share the 5 powerful alternatives to walking that helped me rebuild my strength, move better, and feel younger than I have in years. And trust me, you'll want to hear this. If you're serious about aging better, not just older, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a tip that could change your life. David shook his head and said, "You think walking is enough, don't you?" I nodded, confident in my routine. "It's great," he said, "but it's not the full answer. You're missing the things that actually keep you young." I laughed at first. Walking had always been my go-to. Doctors recommended it, articles praised it. But something about David's words stuck with me. That night, as I rubbed my aching knees, I started to wonder, was I really doing enough? The truth hit me hard. I was moving, sure, but I wasn't getting stronger. My balance wasn't improving, my joints still stiffened up. And worst of all, I was losing the one thing that truly keeps us independent as we age: muscle. That's when David broke it down for me. He said, "Think of your body like a house. Walking is like sweeping the floors. It keeps things tidy, but it doesn't stop the foundation from weakening. If you want that house to last, you need more than just daily upkeep. You need structure, strength, and stability." That changed everything for me. Because for years I had focused on just staying active, not realizing I was ignoring the very things that could prevent falls, stiffness, and weakness. David showed me 5 simple, powerful alternatives to walking. Not complicated workouts, not extreme diets, just small changes that made a huge impact. And once I added them, my energy returned, my aches faded, and for the first time in years, I felt like me again. And today I want to share them with you. 1. Strength training, the one thing that changed everything. David told me, muscle is your best insurance policy for aging well. Lose it and everything gets harder, walking, standing, even getting out of a chair. That stuck with me. I had always assumed that as long as I stayed active, I'd be fine. But David explained it differently. Think about a time when you struggled to get up from a low chair or felt wobbly climbing stairs. That's not just aging, that's muscle loss. And the worst part, I realized he was right. I used to bound up the steps without thinking. Now I hesitated before taking that first step, gripping the railing a little tighter. It wasn't my energy that was fading, it was my strength. "So what do I do?" I asked. "Do I need to start lifting heavy weights?" David laughed. "Not at all. Strength training doesn't mean hitting the gym or lifting heavy dumbbells. It starts with something simple, using your own body weight." He had me try a basic exercise, standing up from a chair without using my hands. "Do this 10 times in a row," he said. By the 5th rep, I felt my legs burning. That's when it hit me. If something as basic as standing up repeatedly was tough, that meant my muscles were already weaker than I realized. So I made a change. Every morning I did a few simple movements, sit to stands, wall push-ups and heel raises. No equipment, no fancy workout routine, just using my own body to rebuild what I had lost. And after just a few weeks, I noticed a difference. My legs felt sturdier, stairs weren't as intimidating. I didn't struggle to rise from the couch anymore. It was like I had unlocked strength I didn't even realize I had lost. Most people think aging makes them weak, David had said, but it's not aging, it's not using your muscles that does it. And he was right. If we stop challenging our muscles, they shrink. But if we use them, even just a little, they come back stronger than we ever thought possible. So let me ask you, have you ever tried strength training? Type yes or no in the comments. And if not, maybe today is the day to start. 2. Balance and stability. The secret to staying independent. Then David asked me, "Do you practice balance exercises?" I laughed. "I walk, isn't that enough?" But he shook his head. "Falling is the biggest risk as we age. You need to train against it before it happens." That stopped me in my tracks. Falling. I had never really thought about it. But the moment he said it, memories flashed through my mind. Times when I had stumbled slightly, caught myself on a railing, or felt that quick jolt of panic when I misstepped on the stairs. I had always brushed it off, but David made me realize that one bad fall could change everything. "Most people don't think about balance until it's too late," he said. "They assume they'll always be steady on their feet until one day they aren't. But by then, the damage is done." He was right. A friend of mine had slipped on a wet floor last year. She was just reaching for something in the kitchen when her foot slid. 1 second she was fine. The next, she was in the hospital with a fractured hip. That fall took away months of her life. Months spent recovering instead of living. "So what do?" I asked David. "Start small," he said. "Try standing on one foot while brushing your teeth. Walk heel to toe across your kitchen. Do slow, controlled side steps. Little things make a big difference." At first, I thought it would be easy. But when I actually tried standing on one foot, I wobbled almost immediately. That was my wake-up call. My balance wasn't as strong as I thought. If I ignored it, I was setting myself up for a dangerous fall. So I made it part of my routine. Every morning I practiced standing on one foot for 10 seconds. I added slow, steady side steps while waiting for my coffee to brew. I even tried a few simple Tai Chi movements, focusing on slow, controlled motions. Nothing extreme, nothing complicated. And after just a few weeks, I felt more stable than I had in years. Stairs felt easier. I didn't grab onto furniture when moving around. I felt in control again. Most people think strength keeps them independent, David had told me. But balance, that's what keeps you on your feet. And here's my challenge for you. Try standing on one foot right now. See how long you can hold it. Then let me know in the comments. How long did you last? Let's see who can hold it the longest. 3. Mobility and flexibility. The missing piece no one talks about. One morning I woke up and stretched and realized just how stiff I had become. My back felt tight, my shoulders ached, and my neck barely wanted to turn. I sighed, thinking, guess this is just part of getting older. But when I told David about it, he shook his head. That's not aging, that's neglect. If your muscles stay tight, your joints suffer. Flexibility keeps you moving freely, without pain. I'd never thought about it like that. I assumed stiffness was just part of the deal as we age, but David explained it differently. Imagine a rubber band. When it's new, it stretches easily, but if you leave it sitting too long, it gets stiff, brittle. and eventually it snaps. Your muscles work the same way. So what do? I asked him. You don't need to twist yourself into a pretzel, he laughed. Just a few minutes a day keeps everything moving like it should. I started simple. Each morning before my coffee, I did a few easy stretches, neck rolls, slow, gentle circles to release tension, shoulder circles to loosen up years of stiffness, a seated hamstring stretch to keep my legs from feeling tight and heavy. At first, it felt awkward. My body resisted like a rusty hinge that hadn't been used in years, but the more I did it, the better I felt. Within a couple of weeks, I noticed a huge difference. I wasn't groaning as much when I got out of bed. My lower back didn't ache by mid-afternoon. Even turning to look over my shoulder while driving felt easier. Most people wait until they're in pain to start stretching, David had told me. But by then, you're just playing catch-up. If you stay loose now, you won't have to fight stiffness later. And he was right. Stretching isn't just about flexibility. It's about moving through life without feeling stuck in your own body. So let me ask you, how flexible do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? Drop your number in the comments, and if it's lower than you'd like, maybe today's the day to start stretching. 4. Low-impact cardio. Protect your heart without wrecking your joints. David asked me one day, what do you do for your heart? Walking, I said with a shrug. Isn't that enough? He smiled. Walking is great, but your heart needs variety too. And if you're only walking, you're missing out on some of the best ways to keep your heart strong without wearing out your joints. That got me thinking. I'd always assumed as long as I was moving, my heart was fine. But David explained that the key to longevity wasn't just movement. It was the right kind of movement. And not all movement is equal. Think about it this way, he said. If you do the same thing every day, your body adapts. But your heart, it needs different challenges to stay strong. So what should I do? I asked. Mix it up, he said. Try exercises that get your heart rate up without pounding on your joints. Low-impact movements are the secret to longevity. So I decided to give it a shot. I started simple, just adding a few short swimming sessions and some time on a stationary bike to my routine. At first, I wasn't sure if it would make a difference, but after just a few weeks, I felt it. My energy levels shot up. I wasn't getting winded as easily. Even my sleep improved. Here's why it worked. Swimming. The first time I got in the pool, I realized something. I wasn't feeling the usual aches and pains. My joints weren't stiff, my knees weren't screaming at me, and yet my heart was working hard. I could feel it, and after just a few laps, I got out of the water feeling refreshed instead of drained. Stationary biking. The biggest surprise, the bike. I never thought much of it before, but once I tried it, I was hooked. No impact on my joints, no fear of falling, and yet my legs were getting stronger and my endurance skyrocketed. Most people think high-impact workouts are the only way to build endurance, David had told me. But the truth is, your heart doesn't care how you move. It just needs to be challenged in different ways. And he was right. After just a few weeks of mixing up my routine, I wasn't just moving better. I felt better, more energy, better sleep. Even my mood had improved. So let me ask you, what's your favorite way to get your heart pumping? Drop it in the comments. And if you haven't tried low-impact cardio yet, maybe today's the day to start. 5. Mind-body connection, the longevity factor no one sees. Stress ages you faster than time, David told me one afternoon as we sat on a park bench watching the world go by. And honestly, he was right. I never realized how much tension I carried every day until I finally did something about it. I used to think aging was just about the body, muscles, bones, joints. But David made me realize that the mind plays just as big of a role. You can do all the right exercises, he said, but if your mind is constantly tense, your body suffers. I thought about it. He wasn't wrong. How many times had I felt drained, not because of physical activity, but because of stress? The restless nights, the racing thoughts, the tightness in my chest after a long day. And yet, I never really paid attention to it. I just thought, that's life. Your body listens to your mind, David continued. If your mind is always running, worrying, or stressed, your body responds with tight muscles, poor sleep, and even faster aging. But if you can learn to relax, really relax, you'll not only feel better, you'll live better. So what do? I asked. Start simple, he said. Breathe. The simple breathing trick that changed everything. David taught me a basic breathing exercise called the 4-7-8 method. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 7, and breathe out for 8, he instructed. Do it a few times and you'll feel the tension melt away. At first it felt silly, but I gave it a shot. And you know what? Within minutes my shoulders dropped, my chest felt lighter, and for the first time in a long time, my mind wasn't racing. It was like a reset button. The second thing, he said, slow down. When you eat, taste your food. When you walk, notice the air, the sounds, the little details around you. Be present, because the more you rush through life, the faster it seems to go. So I tried it. Instead of mindlessly drinking my coffee, I sat and actually enjoyed it. Instead of rushing through my morning walk, I took a moment to listen to the birds, feel the breeze, and just be. And the more I did it, the more my body responded. The results? Better sleep, more energy, and a lighter feeling. It's not magic, David told me. It's just giving your body permission to rest. And after just a couple of weeks, my sleep improved. I wasn't waking up feeling exhausted. My energy levels went up, and even the little aches and pains felt less intense. It was as if my body had been waiting for me to slow down all along. Most people think health is just about movement, David had said. But longevity, that starts in your mind. So let me ask you, what's one thing you do to relax? A walk, reading, music? Drop your favorite stress reliever in the comments. I'd love to hear what works for you. So here's what I learned. Walking is great, but it's not everything. If you want to stay strong, independent, and full of life, you have to go beyond it. David opened my eyes to the reality that aging well isn't just about moving. It's about moving right. Strength training keeps your muscles from fading. Balance work keeps you steady on your feet. Mobility and flexibility let you move with ease. Low-impact cardio keeps your heart strong, and mindfulness, that keeps stress from aging you faster than time itself. At first, it felt overwhelming. So many things to change, but David reminded me, you don't have to do it all at once. Just start with one. One small change today can add years to your future. So that's my challenge to you. Pick one thing from this list and start today. Just one. Maybe it's trying a simple bodyweight exercise. Maybe it's practicing balance while brushing your teeth. Maybe it's a 5-minute stretch before bed. Whatever it is, start. Because trust me, your future self will thank you. Which one of these 5 habits are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments. I read every response. And if this helped you, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because aging better is a choice, and we're in this together.